Mastering the art of saying no. Have you ever found yourself saying yes to something you didn't want to do? Maybe you've agreed to help a friend move on your only free weekend, or committed to attending a work event when you're already stretched thin. It's easy to get caught up in the habit of saying yes to everything, often because we don't want to disappoint others or feel guilty. But constantly saying yes can lead to burnout, stress, and a lack of focus on what truly matters. That's why mastering the art of saying no is essential for creating a balanced and fulfilling life. Saying no isn't about rejecting others. It's about respecting yourself and your time. Understand that no is not a negative word. Saying no often gets a bad reputation. Many people associate it with negativity, rejection, or selfishness. But the reality is, saying no isn't about pushing others away. It's about protecting your own well-being. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your values or priorities, you're essentially saying no to something that does matter. This is why it's so crucial to rethink how you view the word no. Instead of seeing it as a negative response, start viewing it as a way to guard your time and energy for the things that truly deserve them. When you begin to understand that saying no isn't selfish but necessary, it becomes easier to make decisions that serve you better. Picture your life as a garden. If you keep planting seeds of obligations that don't serve your garden, they will grow into weeds that choke the flowers you want to bloom. Saying no is like pulling out those weeds, making room for the things you care about to thrive. Remember, your energy is limited. Recognize your priorities. Before you can say no confidently, you need to have a clear understanding of your priorities. One of the most important things in your life right now is your family, career, health, or personal growth. Without knowing what matters most, it's easy to get lost in a sea of obligations that don't align with your true desires. When you clearly define your priorities, you give yourself a strong foundation to decide what to say yes and no to. Take a moment to reflect on your goals. Do they align with how you're currently spending your time? Often, we fall into the trap of saying yes because we think we have to or because we don't want to let others down. But saying no becomes much easier when you remind yourself that every time you say yes to something outside your priorities, you're saying no to something that is. For example, if your priority is improving your mental health, saying no to a stressful social commitment is an act of self-care. Your time and energy are your most valuable resources. Spend them wisely. Set clear boundaries and stick to them. Setting boundaries is essential when it comes to mastering the art of saying no. Without clear boundaries, it becomes difficult to know when to say no and when to say yes. Boundaries help you protect your time, energy, and emotional health. They act as guidelines that let others know how much of yourself you're willing to give and under what circumstances. When you set boundaries, you're not shutting people out. You're letting them know what is acceptable and what is not. However, setting boundaries is only half the battle. The real challenge lies in sticking to them, especially when faced with pressure or guilt. It's easy to set a boundary but harder to maintain it when someone asks you to bend your rules just this once. Remember, every time you compromise your boundaries, you're teaching others that your limits can be pushed. Practice saying no without apologizing. One of the biggest obstacles to saying no is the guilt that often follows. Many of us are conditioned to feel bad for turning someone down, so we soften our no with apologies and explanations. While it's important to be kind, it's equally important to be firm. You don't need to apologize for protecting your time or prioritizing your needs. Saying no doesn't make you a bad person, it makes you someone who values their well-being. Instead of apologizing, practice saying no confidently and without over-explaining. For example, if someone asks you to take on a task at work that you don't have time for, you could say, "I won't be able to do that this week," rather than, "I'm so sorry, I just have so much going on." The difference is subtle, but it makes a huge impact. Use no as a tool for self-care. Saying no is one of the most powerful forms of self-care. When you constantly say yes to others, you're putting their needs above your own. This might feel rewarding in the short term, but over time it leads to burnout, resentment, and stress. By learning to say no when necessary, you're creating space in your life for the things that recharge and nourish you. Whether it's carving out time for a hobby, relaxing, or spending time with loved ones, saying no frees you up to invest in yourself. Think about the last time you said yes to something you didn't really want to do. How did it make you feel afterward? Were you exhausted, irritated, or drained? Now imagine how much more energy and peace you would have if you had said no instead. Saying no to things that deplete you is an essential part of maintaining your mental and physical health. Anticipate pushback and stand your ground. It's important to recognize that not everyone will take your no in stride. Some people might push back, try to negotiate, or make you feel guilty for not agreeing to their request. This is especially common with people who are used to you saying yes all the time. But standing your ground is key. Anticipate the pushback and prepare yourself to respond calmly and confidently. Remember, just because someone asks you for something doesn't mean you owe them an explanation. When faced with pushback, it's helpful to have a few go-to responses. For instance, if someone tries to guilt-trip you into changing your mind, you can simply say, "I understand where you're coming from, but my answer is still no." You don't need to over-explain or justify yourself. Staying firm shows that you respect your boundaries, and over time, people will begin to respect them too. The more you practice standing by your no, the less anxious you'll feel about it. Saying no can strengthen relationships. Believe it or not, saying no can actually improve your relationships. While it might seem counterintuitive, consistently agreeing to things you don't want to do often leads to resentment and frustration. Over time, this can damage your relationships, as you may begin to feel taken advantage of or undervalued. On the other hand, setting healthy boundaries and being honest about your limitations fosters mutual respect and understanding. When you say no in a kind but firm way, you're showing others that you respect your own time and energy, and they should too. This can lead to deeper, more meaningful relationships built on trust and authenticity. People who truly care about you will appreciate your honesty and understand that you can't do everything. It's far better to say no occasionally than to say yes and feel resentful later. In the long run, learning to say no creates stronger, more balanced connections. Embrace the freedom of saying no. At its core, saying no is about reclaiming your power. It's about realizing that you are in control of your life and your choices. When you master the art of saying no, you're no longer at the mercy of others' demands or expectations. You get to decide how you spend your time, what you focus on, and what truly matters to you. This sense of freedom is incredibly empowering, as it allows you to live a life that aligns with your values and goals. Embrace the freedom that comes with saying no. Recognize that by saying no to things that don't serve you, you're saying yes to a more intentional, fulfilling life. Imagine waking up each day knowing that your schedule is filled with activities and commitments that genuinely make you happy and move you closer to your goals. That's the power of saying no. It puts you back in the driver's seat of your own life. So guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. For more interesting content, give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. For more awesome content, have a nice day and I will see you in the next video.